Welcome everyone to SEO in 2020, AI, Voice, and Intent. My name is Chris Rodgers. I'm the founder and CEO of Colorado SEO Pros. We are a Colorado-based SEO agency working with regional, national, and enterprise organizations, also some large brands as well. You can visit our website, coloradoseopros.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at SEOdub, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I do contribute to a number of different media outlets, so that's a lot of what we share. The primary focus on all that really is search engine optimization. All right, so this is the agenda for today. I'm going to move through things pretty quickly. You'll notice as we go through the slides, I do have sources noted on a lot of them in the bottom corner. In addition to that, some of them have multiple sources, so you'll see that on the very last slide. It'll actually have all of the different sources, so you guys can go validate, do your own research, learn further. So today we're going to talk about some 2020 consumer trends, search and mobile, smart speakers, virtual assistants, voice search, and voice actions. We're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, really in this section with a focus on Google's artificial intelligence and how that's evolving. We're going to talk about user intent. This is a really important concept in SEO in 2020. We're going to talk about micro moments, and then also talk about intent types and how that crosses over with the buyer's journey. After that, we will get into some actual SEO strategies that hopefully you can take and run with. We're going to talk about the concept of mobile first, go through the latest voice search ranking factors, and also talk about featured snippets. I will review two tools that we use and recommend. One that is a little bit more entry-level and hands-on, another one that is a larger enterprise software program. For both of those, we actually do have a program where if you are interested in them, we can help set you up with free trials, and then certainly can get some discounts and added benefits for no extra cost. And then I will share some SEO websites for those of you that are either new to SEO or want to learn more. There are a number of websites that are reliable, and that's important because there's also a lot of misinformation out there. And then certainly I'll do the data sources. If I move quickly enough, we'll have time for a Q&A. Okay, I'm going to start with a quote from Arthur C. Clarke. He was the co-writer of 2001 Space Odyssey. He was also underwater explorer and an inventor and a writer. And he's sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I think we've really gotten used to voice search and talking to our phones and our cars, and that's happened pretty quickly. So maybe this doesn't feel like magic, but it's only a couple steps away from that, or at least that feel. All right, so let's talk about some search engine trends. There are 3.5 billion searches made every single day on search engines. The volume of Google searches grows 10% every year. So if we're talking about 3.5 searches globally, we know that Google is a player globally. Maybe they command a 90%, but you can do the math on what 10% increase on 3.5 billion a day, even if it's a fraction. This increases by a massive amount every single year. So search is really more relevant than it ever has been before, and it's going to have a bigger impact as we move forward with the adoption of smart speakers and voice. 90% of searches made on desktops are done with Google, so they do own that market. 35% of all product searches begin on Google. That's a really important one. So over a third of all the searches for products are starting on Google. Even if somebody is ultimately going to go to Amazon, or they're going to go into social media or online retailers, more than a third of that time, their first part of that experience begins on a search engine, specifically on Google. And this last one is really important. So 75% of all conversions happen on desktop. That's the latest data that we have. And that's really important because mobile usage is huge, right? It's blowing up. But when we think about purchases, web leads, phone calls, maybe it's newsletter signups, still 3/4 are happening on desktop and not yet on mobile. So let's talk about mobile. 52% of global internet traffic comes from mobile, so that's more than half of all the internet traffic in the world is happening on mobile devices. 60% of all Google searches are performed on mobile. So a majority of all the searches that are done on Google are now on mobile. 42% of all mobile brand experiences begin with a search. That is really important. So over 40% of brand customers, when they're going to, whether it's to go to your website, whether it's to go to your app, whether it's to go to your social media channels, 42% of the time, their first step in the brand experience begins on search. Nearly 9 in 10 smartphone owners who describe a mobile brand experience as helpful or relevant would purchase from the brand again. That means that if you make the mobile experience helpful or relevant, you can build brand loyalty, and that's important to consumers today. And lastly, Google captures 95% of the mobile search engine market in the US, 90% on desktop. So that is where all the volume, where the main volume is. However, don't forget about the other 5% on mobile and the other 10% on desktop that are other search engines, because in the US, that's still millions of people, and there are opportunities there. Okay, so let's talk about smart speakers. Internet-enabled speakers integrated with virtual assistants powered by artificial intelligence. So we've got this combination of software, hardware, and AI built into these devices. So who are the major players? Shouldn't be a huge surprise. Amazon Echo dominates this market globally and locally here in the US. Google Home is number 2. They've got a couple versions of their smart speakers. Apple HomePod is in 3rd. And then we've got some third-party speaker manufacturers that are starting to get in the game that are also producing smart speakers at this point as well. So let's talk about the growth. The global growth is strong. It grew at a pace of 45% in just Q3 of 2019, reaching 28.6 million units. This is crazy. These smart speakers are going out everywhere, all over the world, and the adoption is happening very, very rapidly, probably more rapidly than we understand this technology and the implications. In the US market, Amazon commands even a larger share at 70%, followed by Google Home at 25% and Apple HomePod at 5%. This particular survey did not include the other smart speakers, so we do know there's a small percentage that was not included in this. So what are virtual assistants? A virtual assistant, also known as a digital assistant or AI assistant, is an application that understands natural language and can be used to search for information or complete predetermined tasks. So who are the major players? Apple has Siri, Amazon has Alexa, Google has Google Assistant, and Microsoft has Cortana. These are the 4 major virtual assistants that are used today. What's the market share here? What are people using? Very different than the smart speaker market. So when we're talking about virtual assistants, it is Apple and Google that are really leading the way, followed by Amazon Alexa, then Microsoft Cortana, and then some other smaller virtual assistants. So there are 2 main categories of functions that virtual assistants carry out: search, information retrieval, and then actions, right? So we have, okay, Google, where is the nearest Starbucks? And then you can also order a coffee from Starbucks, because Starbucks has invested in creating Google Actions for Google Assistant. And that's something that you as brands and businesses can also do to interact more with your consumers. So let's talk about just some of the differences here. Google, as we just covered, their virtual assistant is Google Assistant. The actions that you can program and set up are Google Actions. There is documentation on all of these different types of actions as well. So your developers can get in there and you can start exploring what the capabilities are and get creative and think about how you want to engage with your audience. Google Home Hub is a smart speaker. You'll see Assistant on phones and computers. Also, those third-party speakers that we mentioned, typically those are going to be integrated either with Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa. So it just depends on the particular smart speaker. Amazon has Alexa, Alexa Skills. Important thing to note about Alexa Skills, Amazon really got ahead of the game when it comes to Alexa Skills. So they built out a pretty large library early on, and today they're still leading in that space. Amazon Echo is the smart speaker, and again, you'll also find Alexa on third-party speakers. Apple has Siri. Their action is called Siri Kit. Apple HomePod smart speaker, certainly iPhones, Macs, iWatches. And then Microsoft Cortana has Cortana Skills. You'll find Cortana on Windows, available on Windows 10 PCs, Android, and actually iPhones. So if you prefer Cortana to Siri, you can get that set up on your iPhone. Okay, so how are people using digital assistants today? All right, so the trend right now is information retrieval, search, is a much significant percentage today, but we're also seeing actions are growing quite a bit. Searching for a business, asking for directions, right? These both could have purchase intent, and it's a pretty large percentage, even though those are informational. Searching for a quick fact. And then we get into purchase intent actions, right? Making a shopping list, informational, researching a product service, searching for a product service. Over half the people in this study were searching for a product or service. That was over half of the people that were using digital assistants. So it's a significant amount. Comparing products and services, price comparison. As you go through, you're going to start seeing more and more actions that are directly related to purchase behavior. So as of today, it's a smaller percentage of people that are comfortable making their purchases through virtual assistants. However, it is happening. I mean, you're talking about a quarter of the people surveyed. So it's already at 25%, and we expect very much that this is going to grow into 2020 and then the coming years as well. All right, so how are people using voice as a whole? 72% were using it to make voice search, information retrieval. So that is by far the majority right now of what's taking place. And where you're going to see that information coming from is either going to be from Google or it's going to be from Bing. For Siri and Google, they're accessing their information from Google search engine, from the index. And then Cortana and Alexa are going to be pulling from the Bing database. So when we talk about voice and virtual assistants, the search engines play a very critical role in that process. Voice search through a smart home speaker, voice commands to your TV, voice commands to a vehicle. And then you have down here where we're getting into the actual actions, right? So on smart home speakers, more than half the people were actually executing actions, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so voice search. We talked about the increase overall in the amount of searches that are occurring out there, the increased adoption in mobile, and the exploding smart speaker market. And we just determined that virtual assistants are being used 72% of the time for search. So that makes voice search critical in terms of making sure that you are in front of your customers and the people that are seeking you out. ComScore predicts voice will make up half of all searches by end of 2020. If we are anywhere near this by the end of this year, it's happening very quickly. So let's talk about artificial intelligence and search engines. I'm going to do a few definitions here. Artificial intelligence can be defined as the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. So this is pretty broad and it's wide encompassing. I would argue that my robot vacuum is artificial intelligence. That's kind of intelligent behavior, right? It's going around vacuuming. Machine learning. Now, this is a subset of artificial intelligence. Machine learning is a process by which a computer is able to improve its own performance by continuously incorporating new data into an existing statistical model. So what that means is it is learning, right? As machine learning goes through process and data, it is figuring things out and optimizing itself to improve performance. And then we have deep learning. Deep learning is an artificial intelligence function that imitates the workings of the human brain for use in decision making. It is a subset of machine learning that has networks capable of learning from data that is unstructured or unlabeled. Truth be told, this is the majority of the data that's out there. Think about the data that's on the internet, right? It's not all in a single format. So deep learning is able to take data from multiple different sources and bring that together and process it in intelligent ways. So how do search engines use AI? There are two main ways. One is to actually refine the algorithm. So both Google and Bing have humans that help shape what the search results should look like. And then they have an algorithm that will go through and refine that so that it's producing similar results to what the human judges or quality raters actually wanted them to produce. For this presentation, we're going to focus on how they use AI to process search results, just because it's more relevant in terms of SEO strategy and getting actionable insights. So Google RankBrain. This was the first artificial intelligence system, at least that Google announced that we know about, in relation to the actual search engine, and they introduced this in 2016. RankBrain is an AI-based system Google began using in 2016 to understand how pages are related to concepts. It means we can better return relevant pages even if they don't contain the exact words used in a search, by understanding the pages related to other words and concepts. So this was a big move away from the old keyword strategies that we had in SEO. If you go back so many years, it was about how many times you're dropping certain keywords into text. It ended up with these very awkward robot-sounding pages that really didn't help anyone. It was a poor user experience. So now RankBrain would actually go in and better understand that, hey, these are the keywords on the page, but actually this is about this particular concept. And we know that this concept actually is relevant to all of these other keywords as well. So you could rank for keywords that aren't even on the page because RankBrain knew what that page was actually about and could better serve it when people were searching with other keywords. So there are two main functions that RankBrain has. Understanding search queries, or really the concepts of pages, is the first one. The second one is measuring how people interact with the results and then actually altering all of the different search engine factors to serve better results. So specifically, let's say I'm searching for how to tune a snowboard. And I go on there and I find, all I'm finding is like online retailers and people trying to sell me snowboards. So I'm not clicking through, then I'm like, I might click through, and then I don't find anything on what I'm looking for, so I back out to the search engine and do another search. Well, RankBrain processed all that. And RankBrain was able to determine that the results that Google has shown me in that situation were not good. Right? People are not responding positively. They're not clicking, they're not engaging. So RankBrain says, I am going to now go reweight all these factors, present something else, and see how we do. So this is kind of an illustration from Backlinko. So user satisfaction for these search results low, testing new algorithm, changing some factors, and then they confirm, yes, this new version of the algorithm that we've reweighted all these factors is now getting people the right information, and they're engaging. So what this also means is that there is an infinite number of versions of the algorithm for all of the different keyword searches that are out there in the universe. As SEOs and marketers, what this means is the days of really trying to game the system in rudimentary ways where we're trying to beat Google at math is really way in the past now. It's not an approach that we can use. It also means that search results have improved quite a bit, and it's easier to find the things that we're looking for. So quick question. How many of you have gone to Google and couldn't remember the name or best way to describe something and ended up finding what you were looking for anyway? Okay, awesome. So likely that is Google's second AI system at work. That is called neural matching. It's an AI system that they rolled out in 2018. It's an AI-based system Google began using in 2018 primarily to understand how words, search terms, are related to concepts. So RankBrain was relating pages to concepts, and this was really getting into the search that people are making. It's like a super synonym system. So this is really about Google trying to truly understand the intent behind a keyword, even if we do a bad job of putting those keywords in. So this is my example. It's probably going to date me, but I did a search for funny show with angry chowder guy. Okay? Horrible search. Google was able to determine I was looking for the soup Nazi from Seinfeld. I didn't put soup. I didn't put Nazi. I didn't put Seinfeld. It was actually a pretty horrible search, but Google could tell, in part, I expect through neural matching, and the click-throughs and all the data that it's processed, that people who search something around these topics, this is what they're actually looking for. So let's talk about BERT. BERT is Google's latest AI addition. They incorporated it just here in 2019, pretty recently. It stands for Bidirectional Encoder Representations from Transformers. So that is a mouthful. Transformers are really models here that process words in a sentence in relation to all the other words in a sentence instead of more in order in a linear fashion, right? And so again, this is getting down to where Google has a much stronger ability to process natural language and understand the nuances of language in sentences. So things like prepositions, right? Of, from, they don't mean a lot on their own, but they can completely change the word of a sentence based on how they're used. So the other cool thing here is this is open source. So I know we probably don't have a lot of data scientists in the room, but you could take BERT and use it in your own ways. We're probably going to do some of that on our end. Okay. So we talked about all of these different AI systems that Google is using. Ultimately, all of this is geared at identifying user intent and serving the right content to searchers. Understanding and incorporating user intent into your digital strategy is the single most important factor in SEO today. And that's me, that's my quote. I saw intent coming when they had these other search algorithms. They talked about it, and this was a big confirmation. So there's a unique opportunity here because if we understand what Google is trying to do, which is ultimately help searchers and help connect your customers with brands, with retailers, then we can craft content that directly meets those needs in a useful way. If we do that, then our goals and Google's goals are aligned. And that means as they get better, we see higher performance. The other side of that is chasing the algorithm, which that's another school of thought in SEO. There's a change, I'm going to figure out how to trick Google at math the next time, right? It's a more sound strategy, in my opinion, to understand where Google is going and get ahead of it so that when these changes happen, like most of our clients recently, when they're big updates, we see upswings and growth instead of having it drop off and like, oh man, what do we do now? Okay, so let's talk about micro moments. This is a concept that Google rolled out a few years back, and it's defined as an intent-rich moment when a person turns to a device to act on a need, to know, go, do, or buy. So these are the 4 game-changing moments that really matter. I want to know something, information retrieval. That could be on our phone, on a desktop, virtual assistant. I want to go somewhere, right? I'm looking for directions. Maybe I'm looking to get to an event that a company is putting on. I want to do something, right? So maybe this is a how-to video. Maybe it's a blog that describes how to do something. Or maybe I'm using voice and virtual assistants to actually execute something for me. And then we have I want to buy moments. This is our big transactional intent. I've already done my research, and I'm just looking to make a final purchase decision. In these moments, consumers want what they want when they want it, and they're drawn to brands that deliver on their needs. So we've got a lot of technology that has helped us, but one thing that has happened is people's expectations of technology has risen exponentially. So they expect to find what they're looking for quickly and easily. They expect that process to be seamless. It's almost unfair, but that is where we're at today. So let's talk about the buyer's journey and intent, right? This is, you may have heard buyer's journey in marketing terms. This relates to SEO, so it might be a little bit different than what you've seen in the past. We have informational intent, which really is talking about searches that people are performing, informational searches. This could be like, I don't know, like I broke the edge on my snowboard. I'm pretty new. I don't know if I have to get this fixed, if it matters, if my board is ruined. So I'm going to go on and start doing information. I don't even know if I have to hire someone or pay anyone at this point. All I'm trying to do is frame my problem and understand all the variables, right? So I do some research, find out, wow, I'm actually going to have this fixed. I'm probably going to have to pay someone or take this somewhere. That's now commercial intent. I'm still looking for information because I want to make the right decision, and I don't want to get ripped off and do the right thing, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do in terms of that purchase behavior. And then we have transactional intent. I've done my research. I know what I want. Now I'm just looking for a provider. I'm comparing prices, features, and benefits, and I'm ready to pull the trigger. And then we have local intent. So maybe I decide, you know what, I'm going to buy a new snowboard. So I go online. Maybe I go to an online retailer or my local shop online, check their inventory, make a purchase, and go pick it up. Or maybe I'm just going to go to my local shop and say, they've got an awesome selection. I'm just going to go there and make a purchase and do my shopping there. So this directly aligns with our SEO strategy. So there is research that we need to do on the keyword and topics side to understand all of these keywords and searches that we want to target. What is the intent behind those? And based on that intent, we need to craft content that matches that. That means if someone is looking for information, it might be a video or a blog. And it's probably going to be longer form content. If someone's looking to make a purchase, you don't want to drop a 800-word article before they even get to pictures of the product and the shopping cart, right? So typically transactional content is going to be a little bit shorter. Ultimately, you have to do your research to figure this out. So there's keyword research involved. We are going to talk about some tools to do that. And then it's using incognito in Google and going in and looking at those search results. And that will tell you what the intent is based on those search results. So let's get into SEO strategy. So first, I just want to cover this concept, mobile first. It's an approach to web design that places the mobile experience ahead of desktop experience. We've already covered the numbers. We know that 60% of Google searches are happening on mobile devices, and over half of the global internet traffic is on mobile devices. So it makes sense that this should be a big priority. If you wanted another reason to focus on mobile and make mobile first, Google rolled out mobile first indexing on July 1st, 2018. That means that Google was going to index and assess the mobile version of your site also for rankings before they go to your desktop version. You can use Google's mobile-friendly testing tool. That's a really easy tool to use to test for mobile friendliness, for basic analysis. And then they do practice, they publish best practices online, Google does, and there's a lot of documentation there. Here's another thing. As we covered with RankBrain, engagement metrics, how people are interacting with pages, affects SEO performance. So mobile users should be a big priority. So if we go back to that 42% of people who are going to search engines when they're engaging in a mobile brand experience, they go to a search engine, look for your brand, and they go to your mobile site, and it begins to load, and it loads slowly, they're going to back out, right? Two things have just happened there. One, you had a missed opportunity, and two, you just sent a signal to Google that your site really isn't working well and probably shouldn't be ranking highly. Think also about voice search. You're talking to your phone. Google's got to wait on that website to load. It's probably not going to be appearing in voice search if that's the case. Responsive design is the easiest way to manage. It typically works really well for most websites, and that really is just where the content on a web page gets restacked based on how big the browser is. You can test a responsive website by opening up the browser super wide and then bring it down to the size of a mobile. If it's built to be responsive, then you'll see that content move around and stack. Site speed is critical. Google Lighthouse tools and GTmetrix are two really solid tools that you can use to diagnose site speed. The other thing that you can do, there are some server-side solutions as well. So you can use a CDN, and there's some server protocols that can speed things up as well. It's also important to perform ongoing tests on your own. So that means getting into incognito or private browsing from different devices and different browsers and see what the website experience actually is like. And unfortunately, websites change, they break, they're almost like living things. So you can't just do this once and set it, forget it. It is something you need to do periodically. And GSC is Google Search Console. That's a free platform if you don't have it. If you set that up, there is a section for mobile recommendations within there that can also give you some feedback based on what Google is seeing. So let's talk about voice search ranking factors. The ones on top are generally higher. There's about 2 or 3 studies over the past year where this data was from. Again, it'll be on the source slides. Top 3 rankings. That is a huge one, right? So we see that a majority of the voice search results that are served are from sites and pages that are ranking in the top 3 results on Google. So that means all of the traditional strategies that you have around SEO are paramount when it comes to voice search, which makes sense. Google's already trying to serve the very best results, so they're not going to completely change this because now it's in voice. Page speed, we just talked about, is huge. Again, if you're waiting on your phone in the virtual assistant, that's going to be a bad experience. We have featured snippets and PAA. PAA stands for People Also Ask. I have an example of this on the next slide, and we'll go into more detail, but we do find that a lot of the voice search results are being pulled from featured snippets. Domain backlinks. So your site authority and trust is definitely a big ranking factor here for voice search. Interesting enough, it was less of a factor for links on that actual page you were trying to get ranking and more about the domain, so just a slight nuance there. Using questions and long-tail keywords, there's tools like SEMrush that you can use, like Answer the Public, that can give you suggestions for questions as you're doing your own research. You can also use the People Also Ask, as I'll show on the next page. Text complexity. So we're aiming for about grade 8. That's kind of sad, but that is the deal. If we want to be able to communicate to everyone, we need to keep it about at an 8th grade reading level. Content length, around 41 words. This is not a hard and fast rule, right? So it does help if you're in the right content parameters, but Google will serve voice results from really long content too, so it's not an absolute must. And then HTTPS, this is actually a really big ranking signal, but it only matters if you don't have it, because so many people have already switched to that it's not really a competitive advantage. So if you're not on HTTPS, it's a ranking signal across the board, so you definitely need to move over. Featured snippets. So on the right is an example of a featured snippet. So it's this search result that gets displayed at the top of the search results. They're really common when you're asking questions. They call it position 0 because it is above all the other results. And you've got some different types of featured snippets. So there's paragraph featured snippets, there's bulleted lists, and tables. So these are things really that you're building into your web pages on your site. And the objective is that Google's going to pick it up and serve it in those featured snippets. And as we just covered, this is a really big ranking signal for voice search. So by going after featured snippets, you're going to support both of those strategies. So the ranking strategy for this, first of all, go through and look at the keywords that you're ranking on page 1 for and in the top 3, because those are going to be the easiest ones that you can get into a featured snippet. Then you need to do research to see, again, you probably have to use a tool for this, like SEMrush. There's other rank tracking tools as well, to see which keywords or questions, phrases that you're ranking for, which of those first page keyword rankings is producing a featured snippet, right? And then from there, you want to identify those questions. And then as you're building out that content, you want to try to improve upon it. So hopefully, from looking at the featured snippet that's there, you can say, well, I could add some information, or I could better describe this in a way that's more useful. And then also, you want to improve the actual page. Data has also showed that answering related questions or queries on that page can also have an influence. So there's our people also ask over there, right? So that's the PAA, which again is a small voice search ranking factor. But you can look there to get related questions that you're answering on the page. You can also use Google Suggest. So that's when you're typing into Google and it has that drop down and it gives you a bunch of other suggestions. Those are places where you can go and get related questions, and it strengthens that one main question that you want to rank for in featured snippets. And target optimal content length, again, this isn't an absolute, but there's a lot of data out on this, and we find that most of the rich snippets do fall within some averages in terms of length. So those are the details over there in terms of paragraph, list, and tables. This is an example of a table in a featured snippet. This is pretty close to what's actually on this page. If you go to that actual website, you're going to see that Google actually took off like 2 columns. So it's pretty interesting. Google's going to ultimately take what they think is most useful, and that's what they're going to present. So you don't have absolute control over how Google is going to show you in search results. Okay, so let's talk about the different approaches to SEO. You can hire a full-service agency like us. You can, just basically outsource everything. You still have to be involved, but we're going to manage the campaign, the schedules, the communication, all the tasks, so that you can focus on what you do best. The downside is it's very expensive to outsource everything. It gets pricey. You're talking about content and link building, and there's just a lot to it. Another scenario is you have an in-house SEO team if you're a larger company, or maybe you have a single SEO manager, or maybe you just have a marketing manager that's handling everything, right? So that's another scenario. We also have enterprise software where if you have a single person managing, they can sign up for these enterprise SEO software platforms, and it helps provide a lot of direction in terms of actions to take and prioritization, so that you don't have to be the uber SEO expert in order to understand what you need to be doing with your SEO strategy. And then there's this hybrid agency in-house approach, which I think is ultimately going to be the future of what we're doing in the SEO space. So that is, you are building out an in-house team that is building their skill sets in SEO. You are leveraging your in-house team to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and that saves you a lot of money, right? And then you have your agency that is going to put together and manage the strategy and really do the most complex, most challenging, most critical elements of SEO and work with your in-house team. So bang for your buck, I think that's the best scenario. And by the way, if you start building your in-house team, you may be one step away from saying, you know what, I don't even need an agency. We're just going to do it in-house. And you've built up the team to be able to do that. And we help companies do that, so I'm happy to do that. These are the two SEO platforms I'm going to talk about today. One is called BrightEdge, and the other one is SEMrush. BrightEdge is an enterprise SEO platform, and then SEMrush is a platform that has a lot of different tools, great data sets, but it's more of a hands-on in general. Okay, so BrightEdge benefits. This is an all-inclusive enterprise SEO platform that leverages very advanced AI technology. BrightEdge has been working in the AI space for a long time, and that's been their focus. Ability to process large data sets and provide actionable SEO insights at scale. So if we could be talking about hundreds or thousands of pages, thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of keywords, lots of competitors. When you get into that level of data, there are some tools and skill sets you have to be able to work that. An enterprise software package like BrightEdge will do that for you, so that you're not just dealing with this massive data set that takes you a week to try to get any actionable insights from. Automation and prioritization of SEO tasks and strategies. Again, there's a point when you're managing an SEO strategy that you're, jumping into the project and saying, okay, well, what's next, right? We have our strategies kind of all organized and a system for that, but if you don't have that, you've got to figure out where you should be spending your time, because there are hundreds and thousands of things that you can touch within SEO, and one of the big challenges is figuring out where do you spend your time? What's actually going to have an impact? We have technical SEO issues that you could spend months and months on, but then they actually don't even increase rankings. So prioritization is important. Established or funded companies, I would say, typically it starts around $3,500 a month for this one, and companies that have an in-house team or an agency or that hybrid model could all leverage BrightEdge, and it would be useful. So how do they use AI? They have a deep learning engine, we talked about deep learning, called DataMind. And it organizes and makes sense of all relevant data at a size and scale not possible manually. And then they have BrightEdge Insights, which is really like this digital analyst that is going to actually recommend opportunities, give you errors to fix, and highlight what's been successful and what competitors are doing. So again, it's giving you some next steps and things to work on so that you don't have to know everything there is to know about SEO and be able to take next steps. We have a program with BrightEdge, so we would offer a free SEO website consultation just to see if it's appropriate with your website. If you want to purchase directly through BrightEdge, we have a program where we can get you upgraded data and platform features at no extra cost. So it might be more keywords or competitors, things that you normally have to pay extra for. And then we connect you directly with BrightEdge, and then they have a direct support team that will be there as your support team to help you learn the platform and answer questions as you go through. We have, if there's an agency and hybrid approach, our program is if you want us to come in and manage it, we can get some pretty sizable discounts, and then you would have full agency management and support in that process. SEMrush. So this is a comprehensive SEO platform, also leveraging AI technology and a very robust data set. So their keyword tracking database is huge. It's got a suite of powerful SEO tools that allow you to directly manage SEO tasks and strategies. So I feel like in some ways, it's more targeted tools that you can get in and really dial down. They do have project dashboards to manage the overall campaign, and they've got tools in there for social media and PPC. I'd say, budget or fit would be smaller companies or those with smaller budgets. Larger companies looking for more hands-on SEO ability and access to data. Starts at $99 a month. There's I think it's $199 a month for the full suite of tools, and they do have enterprise packages if you need lots of data. And same thing here. If you've got an in-house team, this is a great tool. If you're using an agency, even if it's not us, just any agency, I would sign up for that tool so that I could have my own tracking and so that I could learn things on the back end. Just because it's expensive, and so it's probably a good extra step to be tracking independently. And also good in the hybrid agency approach. They have traffic analytics that allows you to check the traffic of any website, and it leverages clickstream data, and that is powered by AI processing to be able to predict those traffic numbers. The SEO Writing Assistant is a tool for content creation that uses AI to suggest keywords, tone, and readability. And then they have brand monitoring that tracks mentions, but it also uses AI to provide sentiment analysis, which is really cool. So it's going through, looking at reviews and saying, okay, these are positive reviews, these are negative, these are maybe undetermined. That way you can look at that information at scale. Our program, we can help set you up with a free 2-week trial. We would do an actual website audit with SEMrush and show you how to use that. And then if you did want to sign up for it, if you find it useful, we can offer a 20% discount on the 1-year subscriptions. A little bit on us, the agency route. So we're a full-service SEO and digital marketing agency. We have a deep bench of SEO talent. I've got an amazing team that are really smart and have a lot of experience in the SEO space. Established track record, so we managed a lot of different clients in SEO, PPC, social, content, CRO, and web development. We also have a proprietary technology that we've developed that is only available to our customers. So we don't offer it as a tool for anyone to go and subscribe to. It is really just our customers. And I'd say small and medium-sized businesses with moderate budgets, we start typically at $1,000 and $2,000 a month. Larger companies looking for more hands-on SEO strategy and campaign management. And then again, companies with in-house, the hybrid agency approach, and companies looking to train up in-house team members. So for some of the companies we work with, we're actually going in and doing training to help them train up their employees. We use AI. We have a number of advanced tools. So I covered 2 here. We use a lot of different tools. A number of them do use AI. And then we have our own proprietary technology called Semantic Match SEO that leverages AI-powered data for unparalleled on-page optimization and content strategy. That also is a mouthful, but we went through probably about 9 months ago, surveyed a lot of the platforms that were out there. We had one in particular that was really expensive that was leveraging AI that we kind of reverse engineered and put our own version together, and then really took the best data from different places and pulled it together into a single process. So far, it's been pretty cool. Again, we're happy to do a free website audit and consultation for any of the attendees of the show. All the benefits from those other software programs as well as would be available to you. And then we would offer 10% discount on all SEO programs with a 1-year agreement for attendees of the show. Okay, SEO resources. It is hard to find reliable information out there on SEO. If you start searching around, you got to be really careful. These are sites that I would say are reliable, right? That you can go to and find out good information. You could take any of the topics that we talked about here today, and if you go to Search Engine Land or Search Engine Journal, you're going to find things on those sites that give you more information. Moz is great, Search Engine Roundtable, Search Engine Watch. Google has a search engine optimization starter guide. That's great to read through. That's one of the things we have our interns go through when they're first training up. Backlinko, and then schema.org is actually for schema markup. So that's not a general SEO resource. We weren't able to get into schema markup in this presentation, but it is a way that you can code things into your web pages to communicate additional information to Google. So communicating what your business is, what are the markets you serve, what type of business is it? If you've ever seen search results that have those 5 little stars or 4 stars with the reviews, that's review schema. So you can actually have representation of your reviews appear in search. And then lastly, certainly you feel free to follow me or my company. I do put out a lot of stuff on SEO. All right, well, I think that's about it. Thank you everyone for coming and listening to me talk. Obviously I'm a big data nerd and I'm really into this stuff, so I appreciate your attention. I hope you got a lot out of it.